And before we start the meeting, David, I am running YouTube on my computer. Do you normally run it on yours, or does Eddie run it on his?
Typically, it was Eddie.
Okay, and that's okay. I have it going back. It's in the background and it's going live right now because I was hearing 85 people talking because it was both screens talking at once. So Eddie got a hold, I got a hold of Eddie and I was able to get the code. So it's just running in the background now. Okay. And I don't know if anybody's going to be posting on, do they post their comments there? If we have questions, or on Facebook, or do I now want to share the YouTube live on Facebook? I don't have access to, I can just share it. Or let me just go do that. So give me half a second, guys. We're still on time. It's 5 o'clock. I'm going to mute and share the live stream and I'll be right back.
Was Eddie not able to join us this evening, Marianne?
Okay, guys, hi. He was running late and so I've got it all done now. Good thing I have some technical capabilities. So we've got YouTube running and we've got it running on Facebook and we are all together and it is 5:02 and I am ready to say hello real quick before we call the meeting to order. Oh, we got a couple more people. So hold on a minute, guys. So I will, go ahead. Okay, so hi everybody. I'm Mary Ann Lyons and the new chair of the Human Rights Commission for anybody who's new. And I am going to call the meeting to order at 5:02. Okay, and then I'm going to share one of my 10,000 screens I'm ready to share. So we're going to start with, it's in here somewhere. Let me stop sharing until I find it. Yes. Oh, I had the right one up the whole time. So good. All right. So again, whoops. You have to excuse me because I'm running like 85 different things at once. So we're just going to kind of share the all right. So can everybody see the screen? Hopefully, speak up if you can't.
Yes.
And this is the regular meeting minutes. This is not the agenda. The agenda's in here somewhere. There it is. Whew. All right, so here's our agenda. Could you call roll?
You got it. I also, really quickly before calling roll, I want to let everyone know that I've posted the YouTube link into Facebook so that way people can access it from there. I'm going to go ahead and call roll. Commissioner Lochte. Let me change.
She just walked out because she had to take a call.
Yeah, I saw her.
Yeah.
I'm back now.
All right. Let me make sure I'm seeing everybody on my screen here. Okay. Commissioner Larson. Commissioner Glover.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Davies. Commissioner Harper is, I believe, an excused absence. Commissioner Aronoff
We're here.
and Commissioner Haney, that's me, I'm here. Commissioner Lyons, Chair. You're good, Marianne, I see you. Commissioner Perkins,
Here.
thank you. Commissioner Morgan has not yet joined us. Commissioner Sundberg,
She will be late and coming in by phone when she can.
okay. And Commissioner Rose present.
Here.
Thank you. Okay. Roll has been taken. I think we're off to our 2 agenda adjustments.
I apologize. I have 25 screens open to be ready for tonight, and apparently I just lost it. It was here. I don't need this. Let me stop share for a minute. I apologize. It's having to do a couple extra things tonight kind of threw me off. Where did it go? Eddie, do you have the? Could you-
Marianne, what are you looking for? The agenda?
Yeah, could you pull it up for me, please?
Absolutely.
Because I'm just. I apologize, you guys.
Oh, it's no problem here. Let me go ahead and put that up on the screen and share the screen. And so you guys should be seeing.
Thank you so much. It actually helps because I'm trying to keep the YouTube going at the same time on the same computer. I apologize, you guys, for that kerfluffle. All right, are there any agenda adjustments?
I have one.
Okay.
And I apologize for being so vain about my attendance record, but there is a little, there's a note that there's a note that I showed up late. Do you
All
see
right.
that, David? Said showed up at like 5:37.
I don't.
In the last month's minutes,
Yes.
yes, Roe joins 5:37 p.m.
That's it. So I apologize for being so picky about this, but I would, if you recall, I got on the first link with you, and then you were finding that link didn't work, so we got another.
You know, you're totally right. I
Okay.
apologize. And so you actually really should be in from the start of the meeting, which is when you were in. So
Right. Thank you.
I'm in those minutes, and I have now removed that you were arrived at 5:37. Sorry about that, Aaron.
Perfect. Thank you. All good.
Thank you.
If you could quit sharing, then I'm going to let you work in your notes, and I'll go back to sharing because it looks like.
Thank you.
Okay. So you stop sharing, and I'm going to go because I see that you need to be able to write in your notes. I see what you're trying to do.
I got a couple screens, but thank you, Marianne. I appreciate
It's
it.
I feel I'm like I feel like I'm just. All right, that way you can type in your notes and because you're in the same one. All right, so thank you for that agenda, but just do you want me to pull? I can pull up the draft meeting minutes, and I'll pull those up now. They were sent out. Did anybody have anything to change?
I have a question about excused absences.
Go
So
ahead.
I had kind of an event emergency last meeting and I wasn't able to attend it. How would I go about making that an excused absence and not just not there?
Moving forward, Datso, what you would do is you would contact David Haney, normally the secretary, by just a simple email and let him know.
Okay, perfect. I'll do
All right,
that.
but usually
Thank you.
before the meeting, unless it's like you're in a car accident or something, you know?
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so do you guys want me to scroll down to share the minutes, or did everybody get a chance to look them over? Yes or no? All right, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I so move.
Second?
I'll second it.
All right. Let's go ahead and vote on it. All in favor?
Are we still doing the roll call vote as we were doing before?
I
Where
think
I
that
go through the roll
I
call?
think we're still required to, but hopefully we'll be meeting in person sooner than later. But I think for this, why don't we just do it? Are there any nays? Seeing no nays, just call it unanimous.
Minutes
Next would be the treasurer's report. As the outgoing treasurer and Guy as the incoming treasurer, we are still working out the details, so there are no changes since last month. All right,
Mary Ann,
go ahead, Jim.
I have, it's relative to minutes, but it's not a correction of the minutes at all. I wanted to bring something up about our posting of the minutes to the county website.
I'd like to share with you that David and I have been working with the county, and we're getting them all put up for the last year, and that should be resolved forthwith.
Okay, well, as of today, in 2020, we had 23 meetings that were not posted and 3 that were. In 2021, we've got 6 that were not posted, 3 that were, and the one that we're just talking about tonight. So if you're taking care of that, that's great. But I would like to make sure that we don't fall behind, because that was brought to our attention at a recent meeting that the public couldn't see the minutes. Well, this is the reason why they weren't there.
Absolutely. And so what we'll do is, would you like to put that for a little check-in for during the minutes next meeting, Jim? Or do you want to do this? I have faith that David and I will have that resolved. We've been working through it, and the last 2 months have already been posted, and we're going to go back and post them in the months before. Is that your understanding as well, David?
Okay, and there's one other minor thing. I know we have a guest with us, but I'd like to draw everybody's attention to the fact that I understand why the minutes are kind of a carbon copy of the agenda, except for the filling in the blanks. But the Zoom link that is shown on the minutes is different than the Zoom link that is showing on the agendas. I don't know if that's a one-time problem or if that's an ongoing problem, but we don't want to make it tricky for the public to relate to what we're posting.
Okay.
What I'm typically doing, I'm sorry, Marianne, what I'm typically doing is just copying straight from the agenda into a new document that I'm, renaming into the minutes. So whatever's on the agenda is what should be on the minutes. There was I think last month's issue between Eddie and I where there was 2 links floating around, right? But that was the only month that I recall. So if there's any other months like that, Jim, please let me know. But that's my process, is I'm literally copying and pasting from the agenda. Okay, well, that is probably absolutely correct. I'm just referring to the July 1st minutes, agenda, and the June 3rd minutes. They don't match up.
I've for the July 1st agenda, if you'll notice it says Zoom link, and you just hit this and it opens the link. That resolves having very long very long things in there. It takes you directly to the Zoom link, and it avoids some of the problems that were happening before. And so when you see the minutes, you'll just see Zoom link, because you're not going to go back to that because that Zoom link's no longer valid. Does that make sense?
That isn't what I see when I'm looking at the two documents side by side.
The July 1st meeting and the June, let's look at the minutes again.
Oh,
What are you saying?
I just wanted to make sure that they coordinate with each other.
Got it. Because this is a different Zoom link. This Zoom link wouldn't be valid now.
Well, aren't they recurring?
There was a little, it took a little bit of work. Just leave it at that, without taking up too much meeting time. We have finished that work. So it was recurring, but there comes a point when you have to renew your Zoom link no matter what. Make sense?
I'll take your word for it.
Okay, okay. Okay, let's move on. Do we have any guests today with us or presenters? Let's move on to item 4.
Yes, we do.
Okay, let me go to full screen then. I'm going to stop sharing so that we can all see each other. All right. What guests do we have today?
Chief Watson.
I see Chief Watson. Hi, Chief. How are you?
I am doing well overall. Thank you, and good evening, everyone. I just wanted to be present to give you a brief update on the status of our investigation regarding the texting incidents. I don't have anything new to report today of real substance, other than to say it's my understanding, again, that the investigation is proceeding well underway. I believe more than halfway there, with many interviews that have already been conducted. Of course, there are a lot of witness officers and personnel, and these take time. One of the reasons that it's taken a little longer than I would have personally hoped, one is we have given this to the third-party investigators, and it is their investigation to run without interference. But when you have multiple witnesses and 2 or 3 subject officers so far, you have to define time to align all the attorneys and representatives about to come together at the same time, and that can be quite a task because, again, everyone's entitled to due process and all of that. And so they've had to work that out during what is an increasingly busy time of the year. But again, the last word I'm hearing is things are progressing, and I'm hoping that before too long we'll have a conclusion to this as well. So I just wanted to share that, and that's where we're at right now. And obviously, I can't speak much about it, but again, I wanted to check in with you.
Well, I think on behalf of the board, I'd like to thank you for coming and sitting through the minutiae so that you could present to us what's going on. I know that it's a difficult task. If any other board members wanted to comment, please do.
Just to say thank you.
Mhm.
My question, Chief, would be, are you satisfied that the officers that have been so far named as part of the problem, that's the extent of the issue?
I want to be careful not to comment or be too presumptuous because, we're allowing the independent third-party investigators and law firm to run this investigation. And so I'm not sitting in on, all the interviews and whatnot. And, I will get a briefing and I will get the full report as it wraps up, but I don't have that now. So I'm going to say this very carefully. Please understand, I don't have that information yet. And that really is the nature of stepping back and allowing this objective independent investigation to take its course. My current understanding, subject to change at the conclusion of the investigation, is the vast majority of this involves the 2 named officers. There may be one other officer that is, a subject officer as well, but it's my understanding it's nowhere near the extent that has been published so far. But really, everyone that's followed the news articles has a pretty good idea of what's out there, at least what we know right now. So again, that's just my present understanding, but not being privy to all the different interviews, that information is just based on the best information I have right now, but is subject to change.
Thank you.
So,
Any other board members would like to address the chief? All right. Oh, Chair recognizes Aaron.
I wonder if they're giving you any timeline for resolution of this.
it's been, I think it's been about a month ago, I had asked, and this was again very tentative because you just never know. You conduct an interview and maybe a new thread because we have specifically asked. We want a very thorough, very comprehensive, very objective investigation that, yes, of course, is fair and obeys the law and follows employee rights and due process. But at the end of the day, where we have utmost confidence that we've got to the heart of the matter and any significant latent issues that I need to address. And so over a month ago, I think it was very tentative. They were looking at maybe a couple months. And so that kind of gets you in the ballpark. And then, of course, once all the interviews are completed, I'm not sure what the timeline will be for the investigator to put the actual formal report together. And then there's a process after that once that's presented to the city, and eventually leading to where I get to review and then make decisions on where do we go from here based on the findings.
Will the report be an internal report, not shareable, or will it be, or will just your ultimate decisions be the only shareable part?
Right. So under the current state of the law, as I understand it, but of course we will assess all this with the attorneys at the end. The majority of police officer or public service, especially police officer internal administrative investigations, are confidential by law. There are some exceptions, again, significant use of force with great bodily injury, any shooting at a person, any dishonesty that's duty related and sustained, and any sexual assault that's sustained. With the law changing, I believe that's also going to include sustained allegations of excessive force in the future. At least that's the way things are heading right now with a bill on the desk, which is, I'm good with that. But this one probably will not be able to release to the public. And so that's always the challenge. Sometimes in these cases, the public will be able to infer a few things, but I don't believe we'd be able to release the report publicly.
That makes
What
sense.
I will tell you, and I've committed to, is I'm going to do the right thing.
Thank you for that. We have a participant here who sent in chat. I'd like to read it as a record. Thanks to EPD Chief Watson for reporting to the Human Rights Commission. And that's by Sean Takeda McLaughlin, who is a participant by phone or by.
Well, thank you, Sean, and thank you, commission members. I appreciate it. I wish I could tell I had more that I could tell you. I just can't at this time. And again, I want this investigation to run its course, and we don't want to do anything that could jeopardize it at all. For all interests involved, very, very aware that this is a topic of great interest, especially here locally. And again, we're going to get it done. We're going to do the right thing. We're going to take the necessary steps to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Marianne?
The chair recognizes Jim.
I just wanted to thank the chief for remembering that we are setting aside a little bit of time each month for you to report to us, and we appreciate the update.
You're very welcome, everyone. And I know the city managers checked in when I couldn't make it before, so. All right. Well, thank you for your patience and understanding.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. Are there any other guests who would like to speak at this time? All right. Seeing none. And please, when I go back and forth between screen, if I miss somebody, I apologize. We are past guests and presenters. This would be our time for public comment. I'd like to take a moment because commenting, we try to keep our public comment to a minimum. So I thought today that we read into this one more time to remind each other that recognition and introduction of guests and speakers, public is invited to speak regarding matters not on the agenda. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes pursuant to the Brown Act. Commission may not act on an item not appearing on the agenda. So when the public comments, I want everyone to understand that if the commissioners are not responding, it's because we cannot act on any item that's not appearing on the agenda. We could, however, choose to add it to, we cannot take action. We can be given resource cards, other things. Member of the public will each be allowed to speak on agenda items once during discussion, usually at the end of commissioner comments and prior to any action. Public is invited to speak regarding matters not on the agenda. Okay, so I wanted to make that clear so that we're really staying on task. And if anybody now has any public comment, it is time for public comment. Does anybody from the public wish to make a comment? Oops, sorry about that.
Chair, this is Sean McLaughlin. I just thought I would see if I could share a quick comment.
Absolutely. Chair recognizes Sean McLaughlin.
Thank you. And this just came up really with respect to the chief's report to the commission and just how important it is to have a transparent mechanism for the community to know that the police are, that there's a sort of certification process and a method for accountability. And so I put into the chat a reference to state legislation. It's called SB 2, California Senate Bill 2, which has a strange name, but it basically creates a mechanism where police officers could be decertified. And I think that's been a real problem historically for accountability is unfortunately and for whatever reason might involve labor unions. There's been a very hard time getting bad police officers decertified. And so what happens is they just relocate to another jurisdiction and continue to work as a police officer. So anyway, I just bring this up because it's an issue for in front of the Human Rights Commission now in terms of taking a look at the fitness of police officers and their behavior and so forth. And I don't know whether you get involved in advocating for state legislation, but SB 2 looks like an important bill that you might want to take a look at if you are inclined. And thank you for this opportunity to share that comment.
All right. Is there any other person who would like to have public comment? Thanks for keeping that short, by the way. It's only a minute and a half. Any other public comment? Chair recognizes Carpani Burns.
Yeah, I guess I would just, I would like to thank Sean for bringing that up. I think that's it is a very important bill. We should all know about it. And I think part of the problem over the years has been the police foundations have put a lot of weight against bills like this. And I'm sure it's happening with this one as well. So yeah, just wanted to drop my comment in there. Thanks to Sean for bringing it to light.
All right, thank you, Carpani. Are there any other public comments at this time? Hitting all the wrong buttons. We will resume and move on to Commissioner Communications. At this time, do any commissioners have anything to communicate?
Yes.
All right, Chair recognizes Byrd.
Our bylaws have us under Robert's Rules of Order, and I attended a webinar about Robert's Rules of Order and parliamentary procedure, and there are three things that I wanted to bring up I think might make our meetings even easier. The first one is that we do not need to vote on the minutes. The minutes, as long as they are sent out to everyone ahead of time and presented with any changes, the chair just asks, are there any further changes or corrections to the minutes? And unless somebody says something, then the chair says, hearing none, these are approved as presented. So we don't have to have votes.
Oh, we almost did
second
that
thing
today. That's
is-
great. Sorry.
Yes. So the second thing is that when you're calling for a vote, you do not call for abstentions. Abstention is a no vote, and the person who wants to abstain must volunteer that. And it is not, you don't call for it to be in the minutes. And the third thing is that if a committee or on one of our ad hoc committees makes a recommendation, that is the committee chair moves the adoption of the recommendation, and you do not need a second, because since it was a committee, at least two people have already said that they want that to move forward. So these are things that I just thought will just make it just a little bit easier for us and a little less that has to go into the minutes.
Chair recognizes Jim.
I really like the suggestions that you're making. I would further suggest, though, that we, for the minutes, that we apply the same amount of lead time to it that we do for the posting of the agenda. In other words, if we haven't received any changes within 72 hours of the meeting date, then what you're suggesting would be in effect, and we wouldn't need to further consider it. That is just a suggestion that everybody ought to know what their timeline is.
And that's a good suggestion, Jim. And also, if people do still have something, as Aaron did today, then the chair would accept that and then say, are there any further changes? And hearing none, the minutes are accepted as amended.
Yeah, that's good.
Great. Are there any other commissioner comments? Did you want to bring up, Bird, the Arcata, or did Jim want to bring up the, you guys had both suggested bringing up the survey that's going out by Arcata?
Well, I think you just sent those out to everyone, I think, didn't you?
I did not see it get received. I did send it to David to send out, but I don't think that it's been sent out yet. But David, you'll take care of that.
What document are we talking about again?
A survey by Arcata City.
Oh, I hadn't seen your approval, Mary, to send that out. So I can absolutely send that out to everyone.
Yeah, so we'll send that out and we can look at it again next month if we choose to. Right? Any other commissioner comments or commissioner communications tonight? In case I don't see all of you, I apologize and speak up because I've only got 6 screens. All right, let's move on to 9. Are there any emails, regular mail, or phone calls that anybody would like to share that they've received outside of the message line report? All right, seeing none. I would like to move into 10, the message line report. It looks like from June 1st to 15th was Carol Larson. Is Carol Larson here tonight?
No.
I think that was the 2 weeks. It was kind of confusing. I would report on that then, I suppose, because I collected most of those and we were getting a repeat phone call from a woman that I was not able to get a hold of, and most of the others were resolved. I would like to thank Commissioner Miller for reaching out to me the night before so that I knew on July 1st that I had to answer the phone. Commissioner Miller, do you have anything to report about any of your messages on the message line?
Yes, I do. Actually, there are 4 messages that I want to speak to. The first one, it was a carryover, and Marianne, you may have heard it. It's a lady from the jail who
Did she leave you
has
45
apparently
messages?
been trying. Yeah. That's the same lady then, and she actually, the final message I got from her was saying that nobody from the Human Rights Commission has contacted her, and she really needed, some help. I've emailed Eddie a number of times and suggested that even though it doesn't appear there's anything that we could do for her, at least us, getting back to her, letting her know that, there isn't, and possibly, giving her some, referrals to other agencies, at least, contact her and let her know that we've heard from her. I have not heard back from Eddie if he's made contact or what is going on. I'm really quite concerned about that, quite frankly, because again, if there are other people in the jail and they're hearing that the Human Rights Commission is not responding to, phone calls, then, we might as well not even be there. So, so that's that. I don't know where we need to go other than just kind of find out what, if anything, Eddie has done about that. I suggested that, he and Mary and, contact her and at least speak with her. And I would certainly volunteer to be there as well, although I think it would be appropriate to have one of our female members be involved in that.
Larry, I'm the only one approved, and I've tried, and I will try again. So I will work on it, and I will see what I can come up with and bring hopefully some results to the next meeting. All right.
Yeah.
The chair recognizes Jim.
Well, yeah, Larry, I appreciate you mentioning that, because I was monitoring, as you may know, a number of the phone calls over a period of time. This woman probably would not have called all the times that she called if she got an early response. And you're right. If she's telling other people that we're not responsive, then there's no point in even monitoring these phone calls. And as far as who should have taken care of it, I would assume that if it's a female inmate, that a female representative of the commission should be the point person for that particular call.
It would be me, yeah.
And if not, then a male counterpart. But yeah, our credibility is on the line if we don't take care of these things.
Chair recognizes Aaron.
Thank you. Yes, when I was on the calls, I also there was also a guy in jail who called every single day and left like a 20-minute rehashing. And I did also tell Eddie, and I think that Eddie did at some point go to visit him, but I don't know what happened to the guy.
All right, Larry, you want to continue with your messages, and we'll go back to her?
So hopefully we can, again, I think that's, those folks in there certainly have some issues that we need to, be able to access. Another phone call from a homeless advocate. I don't think there's he would have absolutely no reason for me not mentioning his name. It's wait a minute, hang on.
Oh, wait,
Vernon Price, a longtime homeless advocate. He called with concern. He had been observing what he considered he wasn't real comfortable with the behavior. Some Eureka Police Department policemen were acting in reference to their new ordinance dealing with the homeless. He wanted us to be aware of that. He was attempting to set up a meeting with the chief to discuss his concerns. I volunteered to go with him if he would like. Maybe Guy, as the chair of the homeless ad hoc committee, might be interested in that as well. But he has not got back to me, so I can't go any further with that one. Then I had two kind of scarily similar phone calls from older ladies. One, a 66-year-old Asian American who had had to come and relocate to Eureka because of she was embroiled in a employment suit with the Superior Court in L.A. Again, there was absolutely nothing that you know we could do. She was in, as everybody should know, if there's a caller that calls and they're in active litigation or in we really can't. We just have to back off from getting involved in that. So I was unable to help her other than made some referrals to some of the appropriate agencies up here. But anyway, talked with her for about an hour. And as some of the veteran commissioners know, oftentimes that helps so tremendously, just to be an ear for folks. The other lady was another incredibly convoluted situation. She was currently homeless, living out of her truck in Oregon because she had been evicted from her home in Willow Creek by a cohabitant and threatened with bodily harm if she returned. She's trying to find a lawyer. She claims the resident deputy was in cahoots with this cohabiter and is part of this problem. And again, it's not our role to judge the validity of these claims, but what I did to her was listen and volunteer to accompany her if she wanted to come into Eureka to go to the sheriff's office and fill out a complaint. I would be more than happy to accompany her to ensure that there was no intimidation, not as her advocate, because again, it's not our role to make judgments about these kind of things, but if she was willing, I would be willing to assist her. I told her to just, if she did, to call the message line, and the commissioner would get back to me, and I'd be more than happy to, do that. So those are my calls. So anyway.
I'd like you to thank you for that due diligence. Great. It's nice to hear a message line report. I am not going to schedule anybody moving forward for a bit because we are already scheduled through October. And I think that the list, sorry, I'm going to roll down again. I think the list is long enough for now. So I'm on the phones right now, and I'll call Commissioner Haney when it's time to transfer the phone line over to him. If we don't have any other reports, I'm so sorry, Bert. It's kind of hard because when I share, I can't see everybody. Chair recognizes Bert.
I would like to ask if you would be willing to let me have the phones August 1st to 15th. You're on there 3 times, and I don't have the ability to do it even when you schedule more for the rest of the year. And I would like to have one, and I think you don't.
I would be glad to give it up. So, Commissioner Haney, if you could adjust that for August 1st through 15th and give that to Commissioner Lochte, that'd be great.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it was just trying to fill the need when it was there. Hearing nothing else about the message line, let's go on to agenda item 12, Correctional Facilities Liaison Report. I don't have anything to report, and our other liaison is not here. So we will now move over to item number 13, Sanctuary Ordinance. Do we have anything to report on Sanctuary Ordinance tonight? Again, nope. That's Commissioner Morgan, Commissioner Haney. Did you guys meet at all this month or no?
No, we did not. I have nothing to report.
All right. So our goal would be, I think, by next meeting to find out. That is the standing committee, so it won't go anywhere. So, okay. Human Trafficking Fund, that would be Commissioner Morgan. He is not here. So I don't think there's anything to report unless anybody else. Oh, Commissioner Byrd or Commissioner-elect Amy.
2 months ago, the commission agreed to send to the Board of Supervisors our recommendation for some of the money for the, there was a request from the Santa Rosa area that was going to come up here and do some work with undocumented people. And I don't know whether that actually happened. And so I'm asking the chair now, it kind of falls in your lap to be sure that that happens, because it needs to go to the Board of Supervisors before it can go to Humboldt Area Foundation.
Oh, Lord. Apologize for that loud dog. Hey, give me 1 minute. I did not expect that. I apologize. That scared me. Bird, can I talk with you about it after within the next couple days to get filled in on that? Because I'm not aware of it, but I've got a note to call you about it. Okay.
But it really must be done.
No, I agree. And so I'd like to get on board. Let me find out the details from you without taking up meeting time. Does that work for you?
Yep.
Lucy, no, come here, Lucy, come. Okay, let's move on. So there was nothing to report on the Human Trafficking Fund, correct?
Nothing else.
Jiminy crickets. Was that the Sanctuary or Human Trafficking Fund you were talking about, Bird?
Human trafficking.
Got it. Okay, thank you. I apologize for that. My dog just decided to join the fray. Okay, let's move on to item 14, Racism Cultural Awareness Committee. Commissioner Haney, what do you got for us?
Yes, I was unable to get all the commissioners together for a meeting, but I did want to report that the current plan was for me to pass the chair back to Carol Larson. And I spoke with Carol about that, and she had agreed. And my specific reasoning was so that way I could reduce a bit of my responsibilities, because I'm finding it hard to do it, these secretary responsibilities, and be the chair of that committee. And so I wanted to pass it back to her since she's back and has been back. So.
Well, I will leave that between you guys to figure out. And can you have Carol send me an email letting me know that that's a decision that was made and that you both agree on it? Does that work for the rest of the board? Or commission, I mean, does that work for the rest of the commission? Chair recognizes Larry.
Yeah, that's fine with me, but I was wondering if David, you have any kind of an update on the community's work towards putting a proclamation together for the board?
Yes. Yes, from what I understand and speaking with Mario, there's going to be a meeting on the 22nd of this month. And so that's my current understanding. And I believe that the work is, ongoing. I've been in communication with a couple of folks, but at this point now, it's basically the people in the community getting it out to the stakeholders. What I've said on these meetings before, that's kind of unfortunate, is that that we don't have, for lack of a better way to say it, we don't have a person of color on the Board of Supervisors that can just hey, bring this to the table, and then have these stakeholders in the community go to that member of the Board of Supervisors. It's the community doing the work, and just as it was spoken about earlier in this meeting, sometimes getting all the elements together takes time, right? And so I think that's literally where the community is at with that process. But a rough draft of that proclamation is there, ready for the community to see, ready to show to stakeholders in the community. And so that's my current understanding, Larry.
It recognizes Jim.
Please, could you offer a brief explanation about what you're talking about? I'm not familiar with it.
Absolutely, Jim. So there is a community process right now to create a proclamation that declares racism a public health crisis in Humboldt County. And it's currently at the point, it's been ongoing, and it's at the point where there is a rough draft. And it includes a portion that basically kind of paints a picture of the history of racism in Humboldt County and how it currently affects Humboldt County. And then it also has a section where there is basically the asks that the community is wanting to see. And that process, like I said, has been ongoing. Board of Supervisors do know about this and are interested in it from my understanding. So we just need to get all of the community stakeholders on board, make sure that they feel that this is an appropriate, proclamation to get to the Board of Supervisors, and then take it, and then at that point it goes from there. That's all the community's work.
Are we active participants in the drafting of this proclamation?
The Human Rights Commission, you're meaning, Jim?
Yes.
No, the Human Rights Commission is not.
Okay. So we're just reporting on what somebody else is doing.
That's correct.
Okay.
The board recognizes Larry.
Yeah, I think, this ad hoc committee was at one point charged with working to develop a proclamation. And there was, when I think we realized that the community was, putting together one, the commission kind of, the ad hoc committee, I think, backed off a little bit. I'm assuming that we're going to be able to get it to see a draft, or maybe wait until the final, their final draft is, together, and then have an opportunity to have input into that, or possibly if I'm assuming that they would maybe want the Human Rights Commission's endorsement at some point as well. So, anyway, that's my read of it.
All right, do we have any more discussion on this committee? How about the homelessness committee? Guy, were you guys able to meet, or do you have anything to report tonight?
We didn't meet yet. I contacted Supervisor Wilson and was in a long conversation with him last week. Wanted to get kind of some direction from, again, the county, from the county level on what we should or shouldn't be doing. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to try to convene a meeting with our members and discuss his comments and kind of get a feel from everybody else on how to proceed.
All right, any discussion on that? If I don't see someone's hand, I apologize. Speak up. Chair recognizes David.
Thank you for doing that, Commissioner Aronoff. I think that this is really important right now with a lot of eviction moratoriums going away as of today, right? And we're soon, if I'm not mistaken, not necessarily specifically locally, but in a lot of places, they're losing unemployment. And so there's going to be a lot of people in bad situations, and it's going to be rough for folks. So I think that this is something that it needs to be a priority. So thanks for doing that, sir.
As a note, we're lucky in California. Our governor extended the moratorium to September 30th. But that is not true across the rest of the country, but in California. So October, November, and December are going to be kind of tough. I agree with you, Commissioner Haney. Anybody else have anything to say on that one? All right, let's move to 15. 15 is for unfinished business. The only thing we have on the agenda tonight is considering approval of meeting opening statement and land acknowledgement. I will find it because I know it's here. Better be here. Give me a minute to argue with my computer. Give me a second here. And I will pull it up for you. I apologize that it got sent out a little bit late because I was not able to meet with Commissioner Sundberg until a few hours ago, but she was able to add her comments and honor the tribal things that she wanted to add. And my computer has a lot operating, so I don't know why it doesn't want me to upload my view. Commissioner Haney, could you share that? It's not allowing me to upload it. I think I just, between YouTube and the meeting, I might have too much going on. So could you share that with me? I do see a message from Aaron Rowe. Did you meet with Wilson on behalf of the commission, Guy? When you met with them, was it on behalf of the commission?
I'm missing part of what you're saying.
I'm sorry, Aaron, I must not have seen your hand raised. Go ahead and ask him the question, Aaron.
Okay, I was wondering, your meeting with Wilson, was that on behalf of the commission, or was it as an individual?
As an individual, I just wanted to get some direction from him.
Thanks. Thank you for doing that.
All right, so I'm going to move this into a document. Give me just 1 second. It'll be easier for all of us to see. I'm just going to make a document and share it. Oh, she's right on time. That's funny. Commissioner Sundberg, you're right on time. We're just bringing up the statement. So give me half a second to bring it up, please. Just give me a second here. On to Control V. Oh, no. All right. Let me do that again. Because it's in the chat box, that's just a little too small, I think, for folks to see. So I am going to move it into a document. If you guys bear with me for just a second.
I also forwarded it to your Gmail, Marianne.
Yeah, I'm having a problem because at this point I have everything going and it's being just a little pissy. So I'm just gonna, oh darn it, it's not allowing me to share it. You forwarded it to my email again. It was there. Let me look again. Give me half a second, you guys. Because now that Lisa is here, I'd like her to be able
Looks
to.
good in the chat. I can read it in the chat if anybody looks there.
Well, we do have a couple people on phone, so I want to be able to have, I think it'd be okay to read it in land acknowledgement. There it is. I'm just going to pull up the email again. And I will reshare the screen. Give me half a second as I play with all of these silly technological devices. And I am sharing it. There we go. So Commissioner Sundberg was able to meet with me and put the wording together that she felt was appropriate. Can you see okay, Commissioner Sundberg? Would you like me to read it? Have we lost you? Okay, I'll read it into the record. What we're looking at is adding this to the beginning of our meeting, and we tried to make it short and sweet so that we could be able to read it or post it. And this is what we'll be voting on. As we gather today, we acknowledge that Eureka, California is ancestral territory of the Wiyot people. We also honor all Indigenous people and territories and sovereign governments that share governance within Humboldt County, California. We gather with respect and gratitude to these Indigenous people. We thank and honor the Indigenous caretakers of this land who continue to cherish and protect it. Their elders have instructed the young to consider the 7 generations ahead as they continue to protect the rights of the land and all people who live on it. We encourage all to align and follow the lead of local Indigenous communities as they steward the land and protect all of its natural resources. All right. Chair recognizes Jim.
Just a question. Is Eureka, California, is that accurate, or should it be broader to include more of Humboldt County?
No, the Wiyot, because we're talking about where we're meeting, And we normally are meeting basically when we're meeting in person, and Lisa and I discussed that. So we have two choices on that. We could just say we could remove that completely and say we honor all Indigenous people and territories and sovereign governments, but because we normally will be meeting in Eureka, we want to acknowledge the actual land that we're on, which is the Wiyot land. So that was the reason for that. Chair recognizes Bird.
I think if we just said we acknowledge that Humboldt County, California, or Eureka in Humboldt County, California. Sorry, I've got something ringing. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So Lisa and I did discuss that, and we could remove that sentence altogether, this one, and just say we honor all Indigenous people and territories and sovereign governments. Lisa, do you want to comment?
Yeah, I think that that's totally fine. Yeah, we did. That's the only reason why we didn't acknowledge that the county seat is in Wiyot territory. So, sorry, I'm outside of the Canada. So let's read it out. What it would change to again?
It would change to we honor. So we would get rid of this whole section and we would say we honor all Indigenous people. I will turn this into a Word document. Give me a second, please.
Yep. Okay, I'm gonna go. See, honey.
Because we don't want to spend too much time discussing it, but we're great on time tonight, so it's not too much problem. All right. Can you see the news? Oh wait, I've got to stop the share and reshare because you have to share a document separately. Hold on one second, Bert. I see you. Give me a second. Okay, so here's what it is. So what I hear the suggestion being, and I will not change it at this moment, but I hear the suggestion being that we remove this and that we just say we honor all Indigenous people and territories. Does that make sense? Would you like to see it done? Chair recognizes Larry.
Yeah, I like that, but I was thinking that we also want to, I think put in there that, this is their land. We're living on their land. That, some kind of a recognition, more beyond the honoring the Indigenous people. And I was just, the reason, there are other tribes that, we need to, kind of speak to as well. I would think the Hupa and the Yurok, for example.
Well, the only reason we mentioned Wiyot is because normally we're at the county seat, and Chair will recognize Commissioner Lochte in a second. We're on the county seat, and that was the only reason that it was suggested. We have no problem doing that. We can change it, but I do want to make a point of order that this has been up for 4 months, and I don't want to spend like 20 minutes discussing it because the emails have been sent out over and over again. So I just want that to be kind of a little point of order. But does everybody agree to take this part out?
No, please.
Thank you, Ms. Lochte. Go ahead, Bert.
I don't want you to take that out. Perhaps you could say, as we gather today, we acknowledge that we are meeting on ancestral territory of the Wiyot people. If you want to take out Eureka, California. We need to say ancestral territory of the Wiyot people. Don't get rid of that.
Okay, Lisa, but remember that that's only in Eureka. It's not in all of Humboldt County. So I think that I'm hearing some say that, okay, for example, right now we're all meeting from all over the county. So none of us, I'm on Wiyot land right now, but I don't think Lisa is right now. Chair recognizes Jim.
All right. Well, keep in mind, we will not always be meeting in Eureka, figuratively or otherwise, because we occasionally do meet in other parts of the county. Maybe not that often, but that's why I think we should keep it more general. But I think what Bird was suggesting would work. You just leave out the reference to Eureka.
Okay, I'd like to
we can't just say Wiyot though and not have the reference of Eureka, because Eureka is the only reason why you're mentioning Wiyot.
Then perhaps we should leave out that whole first sentence.
Okay,
that's why we were talking
about. Go back in time, so I'm just going to do a little quick amendment. If everybody wants to hold on a second, we acknowledge that Just give me a second. Okay, as we gather today, we acknowledge, that. Sorry, guys. Remember, I can always hit the back arrow, so everything's okay. We acknowledge that we are meeting in the ancestral territory of all indigenous people and the ancestral lands. Sorry, that's what I meant to write there. The ancestral lands of all indigenous people and territories and sovereign governments that share governance within Humboldt County, California. How does that sound to you, Lisa?
I mean, it's accurate. It is accurate.
As we gather today, we acknowledge that we are meeting in the ancestral lands of all indigenous people and territories and sovereign governments that share governance within Humboldt County, California. We gather with
I think the word all, the first all isn't there because we're not meeting on all. We're, okay, say that first part again.
Okay,
sorry.
Ready? It's okay, we've been doing this. As we gather today, we acknowledge that we are meeting in the ancestral lands. Should we say on the ancestral lands?
Yeah, on ancestral land, yeah. Yep.
Okay, as we gather today, we acknowledge that we are meeting on the ancestral lands of indigenous people and territory. We've got indigenous people, territories, and governments that share governance within Humboldt County, California.
Okay, that doesn't sound right. Okay, now I have to think about that.
Look at it. So we need to do. We're good on time. So we're good. Bird Chair recognizes Bird. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Ancestral lands and territories of indigenous people.
That's what we need to do. Thank you, Bird. I knew, because once we changed it a little bit, thank you, Bird, for the indigenous, what do we call it? Indigenous tribes, indigenous peoples. We decided peoples. And sovereign governments. There we go. Okay, let's listen one more time. Lisa, tell me what you think. Everyone else, chime in if you need to. As we gather today, we acknowledge that we are meeting on the ancestral lands and territories of indigenous peoples and sovereign governments that share governance within Humboldt County, California.
I think it was and share governance with sovereign
and sovereign governments that share governance within Humboldt County.
Yeah.
Do you want me to read it one more time?
So we're meeting on the land and then we're sharing governance within the county.
Okay, hold on.
So I want to give everybody some perspective. So I was explaining to Mary that earlier that the original treaties were two sovereigns in one land. So if we're recognizing the tribes as sovereigns, you know, we're not subject to one another, but we are sharing governance of a territory.
I see what you're saying, Lisa. How about this? As we gather today, we acknowledge that we are meeting on the ancestral lands and territories of indigenous peoples. Sovereign governments share governance with within Humboldt County, California. You're just saying sovereign governments share governance within Humboldt County, California. We gather. Does that work for you? We gather with respect and gratitude to these indigenous people. Does that work for you, everybody now?
I have a question.
Me too.
Chair recognizes Aaron.
Thanks.
And Datso, are you on the board? Datso, you're on the board, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, because I've seen her face today. Okay. Chair recognizes Aaron, and then Datso after that. Go ahead, Aaron.
You mean the anyway? I just wanted to say that I very much love the last paragraph or the last sentence.
That's basically all, Lisa.
Thank you.
Okay. Chair recognizes. Chair recognizes Datso.
Hi. So in the chat, Karpani Burns is chatting about unceded ancestral territory and the suggestion to add that in there as the land was taken, stolen, unceded land. And I like that addition.
Lisa,
Sorry,
is she on the board?
No,
Oh, we'll give her time. She'll have time after we have our discussion and it goes up for a vote. and then
sorry,
We'll
sorry.
include her in that discussion at that time. I didn't think so at that time.
So-
So Lisa, that'll come up when we go for public comment. We'll get to that. Does anybody else on the board, I mean, on the commission, have anything else that they'd like to see changed?
I think that that last sentence in the first paragraph can actually be deleted because it's kind of redundant to the second paragraph. What do you guys
I'm
think?
okay with that because if we're going to read this, the shorter, more concise and more honoring.
Yeah.
the better. Okay. All right. So at this time.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Does any other board member, I'm sorry, I can't see all of your screens, so I will try to I'm trying to see everybody, but I just can't. Chair recognizes Jim.
I would like to move that we adopt the language that is presently on the screen as our opening statement.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right. So let's actually open for discussion now. You did that. That was kind of a little, so we're going to open for discussion. Do any
I
more?
second it.
Okay. Do any commissioners have any more discussion before we open it up to public? Bird, Chair recognizes
I'm
Bird.
wondering if we should just add one word in the first sentence that says we are meeting on the unceded ancestral lands and territories.
That would address Carpani's comment.
Oh, right. So explain that so I understand that.
Are all lands unceded? That's my question.
On the unceded ancestral lands.
Some lands were ceded though, and that's what's confusing. So we've got to.
Well, then I don't know. Lisa knows better about that.
I don't know better about that, honestly. So I don't have that intel. We'd have to look it up. So, Carpani, do you have any information on that?
No, I don't, but I have the overall picture.
All right. So, well,
I mean, I would imagine
there's
that if
something,
people were
there's a
being
reason why
killed-
you put that in there. So I just want to have you explain it so we
Well,
understand
hold
it.
on. Let's stick with, let's kind of follow our rules of order. So do any, are all the
Sorry.
commissioners done? So we'll open it for, we can open it for public comment again. That's. So, all right, then the chair recognizes Carpani.
So, no, I don't have a book that tells me that land was ceded. What I would imagine that since the people were being killed and moved off of the land, I would guess that anything that was ceded was done under duress. I just feel really strongly about acknowledging the fact that the land was taken. And I think to leave, however you say that, and to leave it out is to not acknowledge what actually happened here. And that, to me, is the whole point of the land acknowledgement. So I think unless it feels like we need that the piece needs more work. I think that the second paragraph could come out. You could combine it, make it shorter, but and the rest is education of people. So that I feel very, very strongly about saying what it is and acknowledging the truth. So whether you say stolen, unceded, taken, however you say it, that needs to be in there. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comment. Are there any other comments?
It's Lisa. Unless there's somebody else, I don't want, go ahead.
I'm just impressed that Bird fixed that whole thing with one word. But anyway, I would also prefer, I always prefer things to be shorter, but it's none of my business. So.
Okay, Chair recognizes Lisa.
So I'm looking at the paragraph and seeing where we could put, because and thank you for that. It's always good to have multiple minds and eyes looking at things. You know, when we look at the reason why we're doing this, you have to recognize all parts and pieces of it. So I would think that we acknowledge that we are meeting on land, unceded ancestral lands and territories of indigenous peoples. That's where that would go, I would think.
All right, I've just very quietly looked up ceding and whether it was by force or not by force. A lot of the lands were ceded, and I think that that would be the wrong word to use in this particular opening statement, because we're trying to honor, we're just trying to honor the ancestral lands and not getting into an argument about ceding and not ceding, and treaties and not treaties, because some treaties were honored, most were not honored, but it becomes very convoluted. I just spent 2 minutes on the researching ceding of lands, unceding of lands, taking of lands, treaties and not treaties. So I think that at this point, my comment would be that that is for another thing. This is just an opening statement on our agenda is what this is. And that's my comments on it. Chair recognizes Jim. Nothing, did you change your mind, Jim?
Who, me?
Yeah, you were waiting.
No, I didn't have my hand up,
Oh, okay.
but Lisa does.
All right, Lisa.
Gosh, I hope I didn't forget what I was. Hold on. Now I'm meeting ancestral lands. So, the one I wanted to say that the treaties in the state of California were never ratified. And so to say that these land, you know, there is that, you know, so a lot of these lands were negotiated and they were never ratified by the state of California until there was a land settlement. But even then, it's like I said, so it was a land grab for sure. And so how we acknowledge that in words is what I would be looking for assistance with in this space, using the actual, you know, a word or, you know, a set of words that will address it in that part of the sentence. But I think this is where we would say it.
Okay. So gathered today, we acknowledge that we're meeting on ancestral lands and territories of indigenous people, much of which was taken by force instead of ceding. Does that work for everybody? Something
Well,
like
we need
that?
some help. I mean, this is, you know, we need some help with some language. So we have a chance to work on it right now. So we've got it.
Yeah, because there's a motion on the table and we are 4 months into discussion. And at this point, we've heard from the community and we've heard from the board members. I think that a lot of work has been done to get it to this point. Lisa, do you feel satisfied with where it's at this point?
Let's see.
Bird, was your addition added?
No.
What was your addition, Bird?
Well, I had just said unceded, which is probably not a correct word.
It's not the correct word. If we could find the correct word, it'd be great, but that's not the right word. Spend all the time.
I also like to, sorry, it's Lisa.
It's okay, Lisa, go ahead.
So I think it would be read as in territories of indigenous people and sovereign governments that share
Okay.
governance within.
Great.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Because
How
right now we're
about,
talking about today. We don't, this isn't supposed to be an acrimonious thing. It's supposed to be an honor and a blessing.
So maybe I think maybe that's where, because this is not the, I was confused too at first. So Carpania believes that this is a
Proclamation. It's not a proclamation.
yeah, it's not the proclamation. It's a land acknowledgement statement. And is this the place to do it?
Chair recognizes Bird.
how about if we said we are meeting on take out the, on ancestral lands and territories taken from Indigenous peoples?
Ooh, I like that. Then we'll have to take out that and rephrase the
Yeah.
sovereign governments.
Yeah.
Wait. Let's see. Wait. I just want, okay. As we gather today, we acknowledge that
Because this
we
is
are
a whole new
meeting.
thing then.
Yeah.
We recognize
Yeah.
sovereign governments that share governance. How's that, Lisa? As we gather today, we acknowledge that we're meeting on ancestral lands and territories taken from Indigenous peoples. We recognize sovereign governments that share
Tribal, how
governance.
about sovereign tribal governments?
There you go.
I would
There.
say tribal.
There's okay. I like the word taken better than seated, because seated and unseated, it's a whole.
Yeah.
As we gather
Right,
today, we
legal.
acknowledge that we are meeting on ancestral lands and territories taken from Indigenous peoples. We recognize sovereign tribal governments that share governance within Humboldt County, California, which we do. We recognize them. Okay. I don't think there was any discussion on anything else in there. Thanks for reminding me, because it was capitalized everywhere else and I didn't capitalize it there. Appreciate it. All right. Jim, board recognizes Jim.
I would like to withdraw my motion because we've changed the wording substantially since I made it. But I would like to move that we adopt the wording that is presently on the screen with no further changes.
I agree.
All right. Hearing no further changes and no further discussion, let's put it up to a vote. I think that because I can't see everybody on the screen, if I could have the secretary call names.
All right. Commissioner Lochte,
Yay.
Commissioner Glover,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Aronoff,
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Rowe,
Yes.
Commissioner Sundberg,
Yes.
and my vote is yes.
All right, let me save this document then.
Yeah, excuse me, it's Lisa. The only one, now as I was catching the last sentence, and I do like it too, we encourage all to align and follow the lead of local indigenous communities. So I just want to be, the communities would be all encompassing of.
Lisa, we've
Bird-
adopted it without any changes, so we'd have to
Yeah.
go back in time.
No, I'm good. I just want to make
Okay.
sure that covers that. I covers the all. Anyway, it's all good. It's all good. I think it's fine.
I do want
It's
to
just-
acknowledge, Carpani, that I saw your hand raised, but this would not be a time for public comment, but I appreciate you being here. All right, we're gonna go back to stopping this share, and we're gonna go back to our agenda so we can get moving on to where we need to be next.
Thank
All
you.
right. You're
everyone.
welcome, and thanks for all your hard work. Thanks for everybody's hard work. Let me try to get back to the agenda. Here we go. We're back to our agenda. Okay. That was our unfinished business. We cut into a lot of time that we'd saved. We did have, so that's taken care of. For our new business, we are going to see, and I don't know, I'm sorry, I think new business should have had its own little thing and should have been number 10. It's missing, but that's okay. Auditor controller issue. I don't believe that, is anybody have anything to report on the auditor controller issue? Is there any news on that? Bird, Chair recognizes Bird.
I just want to say that I have talked with different people within the county, and there are a number of concerns, not just in the auditor controller's office, but in many of the offices in terms of things that were not being done perhaps the way they should have been done. And it's a much broader issue than just one person, one office. And I think it probably falls more in the realm of the grand jury to be looking at these, the offices and the process and so forth that's going on in the county.
Do you suggest any action right now, Bird?
No.
Okay, then we won't move. Will it be removed from here, or is it going to stay new? It won't be new business next agenda. So where would I put this? Or would I let it go? Because you're suggesting that it move to the grand jury, and I believe we do have someone on the grand jury on our commission. So, okay. All right. Does anybody else have any discussion on that? All right, next order of new business would be consideration of the human rights survey. It's been kind of discussed and bandied. I would suggest, would anybody like to form an ad hoc committee to develop a human rights survey? If nobody's able to at this time, it's okay, but would anybody like to?
I would like to serve on that committee, but I would not want to be chair.
All right. Sorry for losing this thing again. It's driving me crazy. There we go. Sorry about that.
What would the, excuse me, Lisa.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Question. So what would this entail? Like, what would be the the purpose of the survey, and what would we do with it once we got the results, and what kind of impact are we looking to create by doing this?
I'm not really sure. We're already the Human Rights Commission, and we get human rights considerations come to us. But I think we had done a cannabis survey, and it was suggested that maybe it wasn't broad enough, and we should look at the state of human rights in Humboldt County. And I believe that it's my idea, or not really my idea, but my understanding that the ad hoc committee would look at human rights surveys that might have been done in other communities to be able to develop and personalize a human rights survey for Humboldt County, probably a Google survey or something that could go out. And just, I don't know, it would probably take several months to put it together, but to look at the state of human rights in Humboldt County based on whatever data gets collected. That's kind of what I think it would be. And I would think that it would probably take 6 months to create the survey. This could not happen overnight. Chair recognizes Jim.
Well, I think the ultimate goal should be to make, once the results are in from the survey, to make a presentation to the Board of Supervisors explaining what those results look like, and recommend that they take those responses into consideration as they make various decisions for the county. I don't know if Bird wanted to talk about this or not, but we need to have a broad base of input to make sure that we have something really to share with the Board of Supervisors. And Arcata is doing a housing survey. And after a number of months, they only had 24 responses. And so they were putting out the press feeler to try to get more responses because they felt like 200 was a good response. Now that's just from the city of Arcata. We're talking about the whole county. So we'd probably want to get 200 to 300 people to respond, digest that into a statement that we could turn around and make to the Board of Supervisors.
Chair recognizes Aaron.
Mary, you and I know we've just gone through this process of trying to get a survey out, and there's a lot of work. And then how do you? I got the survey from the city of Arcata, and I couldn't fill it out. I hate to say that, but it was we have to be careful about how we write the survey.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. Chair recognizes Larry. Larry, chair recognizes.
I'm quite frankly, I'm not in favor of. Oh, am I on? Marianne?
Yep, we
Am I
can
on
hear
the
you.
floor?
Yep.
Okay, I was going to say I'm personally not in favor of the survey. I think we have all kinds of information about the condition of human rights in Humboldt County. I think, I think we want to, we've got this DHS survey indicating all kinds of human rights issues with education and employment. And then we can go on and on. So again, it would seem to me, I'd much rather spend my time trying to identify specific things that we can address and work towards alleviating some human rights issues.
I can't say I disagree. Yep, I can't say I disagree. I'm not sure who came next, Bird or Lisa. So how about if the chair recognizes Bird?
Lisa was first.
Okay, chair recognizes Lisa then. Thank you, Bird. You're muted, Bird.
Sorry, what I'm not familiar with is what data has been already collected that we as a committee have, I would say, an ongoing piece of data that we're keeping track. Are we tracking anything? Because the survey would have to be other than what's already been, provided. And if it's not provided, then I think that we should develop something because it's a litmus test to see what's going on in the community. And I would love to see, and even ask for dollars to set up shop and be available instead of just sending it out. I think we need to make a concerted effort to get ourselves out there and collect this information. If it's not already been done, there could be, but the thing that concerns me is the homelessness that is happening right now with the evictions and the impact of that. I mean, I'm already seeing families in shopping, more shopping carts, and people being impacted by the moratorium being lifted on rent control. I kind of feel like we need to be in touch with that. And that's something new. That's not something that would be old data. That's all new impact stuff from COVID. So my concern, or I guess my question to the board is, do we have surveys that have already been done? What data is collected so we can see it? And then determine whether or not collectively, whether or not a new survey could be developed and then forwarded to the Board of Supervisors, because there are funds that they get allocated, and my concern is that those funds that are out there need to go to support the people that are in need, but we have to identify what those needs are based on the impact that's happening right now.
Chair recognizes Bird.
I was just going to offer, if the commission would be willing to work with Jim, just the two of us until the meeting in August, to see if we could come up with an idea of the way to do a survey and what we would hope to get from it and how we would use it. If Jim said he wanted to be on that committee, I don't even want a whole committee. I just am offering to work with Jim for a month if he's willing.
Chair recognizes Aaron. I saw you had a text. You want to read it into the record?
Yeah, wasn't there a recent report in the paper by the ACLU? Was it them or somebody else? That's where we can get some information, I would think. They've done all the research, so. Doesn't anyone remember that?
I do remember the ACES
Certainly.
report that Larry was referring to, the ACES report that shows the scores for students. So I believe that if I can coalesce this, what I'm hearing is that there might not be the bandwidth to develop it, or that there's already data out there that we could look at, or that Bert and Jim want to get together and just form a duo. Carpani is saying that ACO reports just on Indigenous people. Okay, so that's what I'm hearing. So what I want to know at this time is, do we want to take any action on this item out of those suggestions? Chair recognizes Jim.
Well, I would be pleased to work with Bird in just developing an outline of a plan for the rest of the commission to consider at a future meeting.
So then what you're suggesting is that we form an ad hoc committee of 2 that ends in August. Is that what we're suggesting?
With the purpose of what?
To recommend what type of survey we should
If
have
any.
and what we already have.
All right, so would you like to, do we normally for something like this, do we move to create an ad hoc committee? Is that a motion? Bert or Jim, point of order?
Not normally.
Okay, so then the idea now is to just have an ad hoc committee that would end August 31st. Bert and Jim would be on that committee. You guys decide who is the chair of that committee, and you'll come back and you'll report to us at the August meeting and either say it's not feasible, it is, whatever you report, you're just going to report.
Wouldn't it
Does
be
that
the
make sense,
September
Jim?
meeting if our expiration date is the 31st of August? Wouldn't
Well, I would
the,
want you to come on to the August meeting, because you would either say we want to extend the committee or we don't want to extend the committee. So we don't want to report it in September because the committee would already have ended, right?
that's one way to do it.
Yep. So it would end August 31st. That way we could move
Okay,
it forward and
that's
extend
fine.
it or not. Does that sound good to everyone? David, does that make sense for your notes?
Yep, that's in the notes.
So we'll have an ad hoc committee, and we're going to call that ad hoc committee. Let's share.
Human Rights
My
Survey.
agenda, the Human Rights Survey Committee. And it's really okay if we decide moving forward that we don't want to do it or we do want to do it. It's okay. Thank you too for taking the time to do that. I hope you guys enjoy coffee together and do that. Or is there any more discussion on that?
I
All right.
want to.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, David. I'm sorry. I just moved off so I couldn't see the screen. Go ahead, David.
I just want to make sure that I add just to make sure that we are all on the same page about this. I wanted to just echo what Aaron and Carpani have said, that I think that we may have, Mary Ann, you may have been talking about something different about the ACEs report, going over ACEs, but this was specifically the failing grade report coming out of the ACLU of Northern California that went over the disparities in suspensions and expulsions, and that data related to Indigenous students, and that being a specific issue that creates the need for this survey, right? And with that also being said, I want to just add one last point. Just as a person in this community, I personally, and this is not meant to be directed to anybody on this commission, anybody in local government specifically, I just personally loathe the idea that we have to get specific figures and numbers on paper for people to believe that there's racism and believe that there are human rights issues that exist and need to be acted upon. That's all I have to say about it.
It's sad and true. I just thought I'd add a personal note. I'm a local teacher, And I specifically am the Acorn teacher now for Northern Humboldt Union High School District, working to improve the educational standards for our Indigenous students and our students of color. And I'm pretty excited that I get to work with local tribes to provide local tribal education so that I can take my students out and help them understand the history of who they are. And it's pretty exciting. So if you have not heard of the Acorn Project, I'm the Acorn teacher. So, and I work with I work with quite a few Indigenous students now. So not every school district is doing that, but I'm hoping to see the Acorn Project spread throughout Humboldt County and other schools adopt it. So that's just a personal note on that, on the ACES scores and how I'm actively participating on a professional level to remedy some of those long-standing disparities. Okay, so we are getting close. We're doing good on time. I'm pretty proud of all of us. Is there any other comments? So what we have is we have this committee ending, ad hoc committee ending August 31st, unless something different comes up, so that we don't carry it on. Let's go back to our agenda one more time. And do we have any future agenda items? At this time, it looks like our future agenda item will be the ad hoc Human Rights Survey Committee, correct? Am I understanding myself correctly? Is that
Mary?
how that? Go ahead. Let me just unshare so I can see everybody. Heard somebody say, sorry, Aaron. I recognize Aaron. Sorry about that.
Whatever happened to Lelania's proposal?
Lelania withdrew her proposal.
Okay.
She withdrew it summarily, and that was that.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
there was no further action on that.
All right.
But thanks for asking. And I thought that the entire board got that when she withdrew her proposal. I apologize for not having that. Know that. Okay. The only future agenda item I see right now, we'll have the ad hoc committee next time. If anybody else doesn't have anything else to say, I would move to adjourn at 6:42. Oh, I'm sorry, Bert, go ahead.
I just want to say this was your first meeting and thank you. You've done a great job. Thank you very much.
I agree.
Well, I've had some
I
hidden,
agree as well.
I've had hidden talents. I've contacted, I've had all of you guys. I've turned to all the experts. Lisa, I'm thankful that you were able to get on right when you did. It was exactly when we were pulling it up. And I suppose before we do actual adjournment, I'd like to let everybody know that I'm actively moving to be able to have us have in-person meetings. I will at the same time work on having the ability, if somebody is unvaccinated, doesn't feel safe, doesn't feel comfortable being masked and in the same hopefully large room. But I do look forward to a lot of us, all of us meeting in person, because several of you have joined the board since we went into lockdown and have been virtual. So I will be in touch, but as soon as next month, if possible. If not next month, then the month after. So I would like to see us be able to all meet in person in September. So fingers crossed we could do that. I think that would be delightful. And if we feel that that room is too small for social distancing, I am looking at different options so that we can, as a teacher, I'm teaching, I'm having to do social distancing all day long. So I'm pretty expert at it at this point. So hopefully we will all see each other in person by September, if not sooner. Are there any other comments? If not, do I move or do I just adjourn? Oh, Guy, I see you. Oh, you're saying bye. Do I just adjourn? I just adjourned the meeting, right? Huh?
You would ask for if there's a motion to adjourn.
Oh, is there a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. all
Really,
those-
really quickly, if I may, just to end on a good news point that I heard recently, and I think it relates to something that Commissioner Aronoff brought up, but the state of California just recently approved free school lunches for all students,
Moving forward,
public
period.
school, which is a great thing, which is really good, and it's gonna be helpful for a lot of families and children in schools. So that's a positive thing for this state.
You know what, David, I'm so glad you brought that up because didn't know if we were supposed to put it on the agenda again this month, but it happened. So, thanks. All right. On that
I have a
second,
motion on the floor.
yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Good night, all.
Good
All right,
night.
I'm gonna try and turn off all the YouTubes and stuff. Good night, you guys, and thank everybody for your help. Everybody's had input to help me get through this. I'll stay on for a minute, Jim. Go ahead.
Please, yeah, I just wanted to speak to you privately for a second.
No worries, no worries. Thank you, Aaron, for your words of encouragement. Aaron, you and I still need to meet.
Yeah.
And Guy and I will be meeting sometime next week. Karpani, thank you for all that you do. I really appreciate you. I think you're awesome. That's all. I like seeing you today. I look forward to getting to know you better. And David, thanks for letting me contact you 82 times this week. I think David and I talked like 4 or 5 times this week. Bert and I talked several times. All right. Gosh, do I turn off the YouTube, I guess, at this point? Let me turn off the YouTube, guys. Give me a second. I'll be right back. I don't know where it's at, but I'm going to find it. Humboldt County YouTube and turning it off. Okay, I just wanted to go so that we're no longer on YouTube. That was a lot to work through, having everything be on one computer. Sorry, guys.
It still says we're on YouTube, at least
It takes a couple minutes. It takes a couple. Oh,
No.
it takes a couple minutes to stop. Did it stop now?
No,
It's still showing on mine.
yeah. Jim, give me a call when you have a moment and we'll get to work on our.
You want me to call you this evening or just in the
No,
next day or
no,
so?
not this evening.
Okay, yeah,
There's
I've
a
got,
delay, Bird, so it
I
should
got
really be
about-
stopping. Keep checking.
Great job, Mary Ann. You guys have a great evening.
All right, take care,
thank
David.
you, David.
I appreciate you, bud.
Bye.
Let me
Bye-bye.
see, what, did it turn off yet, Bird?
Well, Bird's gone, but it's still there. I don't know if it.
There's
I
a
don't know how that
delay
works.
though. Let me go into YouTube and let me go in. Let me just turn off all the YouTubes. Let me go into my. I guess until we go off air. So I'm going to go off and just call you or come back on.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so you're going to end the meeting right now.
Yeah, because if I don't, I think we're just going to stay live.
Okay,
Oh, no, wait. I just saw the live button up on the left. Stop live stream. I found it. We're done. Did it stop?
okay.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I wanted to talk privately. I don't know if studio control is that.
I can make them leave. I can remove them. I don't need a report to Zoom. I'm just